These people they do a lot of expeditions on the Baltic Sea, and it was quite easy for them to locate all four of the blast sites.
Well, why won't the international community investigate the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline, the largest ecological disaster, the largest ecological attack in world history? Seems like a good idea, maybe to get some answers on that. My next guest, though, is asking that question. You testified before the United Nations, bringing to their attention some things that you found. You're the only journalist, to my knowledge, that's gone to all four of the different sites. What did you find? First of all, how did you locate these sites, and what did you find when you got there?
Okay, so yeah, I think I am the only journalist to go to all four blast sites. They're not difficult to locate. Anyone can, geo coordinates, longitude, latitude, they can be located quite easily. We had a sonar device on our boat, and I went with we chartered a boat. And the captain and his first mate were very knowledgeable. These people they do a lot of expeditions on the Baltic Sea, and it was quite easy for them to locate all four of the blast sites. We were able to do that by capturing underwater drone images and videos that had never been seen by the public before of all four blast sites, and we were able to do that by also capturing sonar images of all four blast sites. I then took this data that was obtained through the expedition, and I showed it to explosive experts, ex-US Navy SEALs, the managing director of an explosive engineering company. And for the first time, they were able to calculate accurately the amount of explosives used in the attack at all four of the blast sites, for example. These experts that I talked to and have quoted in my articles, they've said that it's between 10 and 50 kilograms per blast site.
Why is that significant? Can you educate us?
A diver could have done this, certainly without the assistance of a submarine, according to the experts I've spoken to.
So what was the United Nations response when you presented this data to them?
Well, the United Nations response was, unfortunately, what its response has been, since this took place, approximately 8 months ago. It seems that all the countries on the Security Councils kind of fell back to their previous positions, which is that there is saying that there is an ongoing investigation. I should say there are 3 ongoing investigations they've been conducted by Sweden, Germany, and Denmark, separate investigations. And they keep saying, well, we should just wait for these results. But, it's very unlikely, at least according to the experts I've spoken to, and at least what we know about, underwater surveillance systems, that these countries, at least Sweden in particular, doesn't know what happened, and the US doesn't know what happened. And it seems to me that these countries are dragging their feet. And, when $26 billion of critical infrastructure is blown up, infrastructure that was critical to the European economy, particularly the German economy, which is often called the motor of the European Union, is sabotaged, it seems to me that the public has a right to know who did this and how it happened. And it's in the public interest to know. There were probably divers used.
And do we know from whom, which country, who was involved? I mean, again, what Seymour Hersh has said is one thing, and there now seems to be the United States, and the mainstream media in the United States is trying to push the blame off on some rogue Ukrainians within Ukrainian security service that no longer alive. So it's an easy scapegoat. What does your research show you about that? Able to confirm or deny any of that?
It's not able to confirm or deny any of that, but there's some open source research that that indicates that the United States and its allies, particularly the United States and Sweden, know exactly who did this. And I'm just going to kind of quote. There was a wonderful article by James Bamford in The Nation, and he talks about something called what he calls a little known and highly secretive integrated undersea surveillance system. This is a surveillance system that was built by the U.S. With Sweden's help, ironically. And what it is these are kind of arrays of acoustic sensors that are tethered to the seafloor. And what the surveillance system does is it can analyze distinct engine sounds. So if you have, whether it's aircraft or whether it's a sea vessel, whether it's subsea or a surface vessel, you can turn off your transponder There's also ways for, satellite not to detect you, but it's really tough to turn off your engine and go anywhere. So just by let's very unsophisticatedly call it the purr of the engine, you can identify and actually fingerprint, as James Bamford says in his piece, you can fingerprint the vessel. So if these vessels can be fingerprinted, the question is, why hasn't the U.S. said anything about these vessels? Why haven't they made these vessels public? One of the MPs, the European MPs, a German MP that I interviewed, I asked him basically that same question. Is it possible that we still don't know? And I should say this MP also, I believe he sits on intelligence committees. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but I quoted him exactly in my United Nations remarks, that he said something like to me, Jeffrey, this is the most highly monitored and trafficked body of water on the planet. This is the Baltic Sea. This is not Mars. How is it possible that a massive, terrorist attack like this takes place in the middle of the Baltic Sea, and everyone's, and now I'm speaking, not him, everyone throws up their arms and says, we're stumped. We don't know. Why was it so significant to go to all 4 blast sites? The BBC chartered an expedition to one of the blast sites in October of 2022. So just a month after the sabotage occurred. And they made a big mistake. They actually only went to one of the blast sites, and it's almost 100% accurate to say they did not even find an actual blast site. What they did is they found a 250-meter long rupture in the pipeline, if I remember correctly. And this, when you have a 250-meter long rupture, you can't determine where was the bomb placed, how many explosives and kilograms were used. You can't really draw any significant conclusions. The rupture was actually not caused by a bomb or the explosions. The rupture was caused by the overpressure of gas, the rapid release of the gas due to the bomb in a separate area of the pipeline. So what was really significant is we went to Nord Stream 2, line A, in the exclusive Swedish economic zone. And that is, the depressurized site. This line was blown up twice, and the site we went to was blown up approximately 17 hours after the first explosions. And therefore, when you show images and pictures, images and videos to experts of this site, they were able to make accurate conclusions, draw accurate conclusions about the amount of charges, the placement of the charges, and the type of charges. That's what's really significant. And it was curious to me, why the BBC, and I think there was a later expedition just last month in June by Danish TV2, a public television station. And it was curious to me why they didn't go to the depressurized site. Why didn't they go to line A, Nord Stream 2 in the Swedish zone? Because that's really the site that can provide clues and insight into how the sabotage was carried out.